Cup final.
World Cup final.
World Cup final.
World Cup be played. The winner is New York, New Jersey.
At this very moment, beneath the skyline of New York, one of the busiest stadiums in the world is preparing for the biggest moment of its life, the most watched 90 minutes on the planet. With a living grass surface grown off-site and assembled inside like a precise engineering puzzle, with over 60 extra feet of width and a full VIP transformation for the world's elite, MetLife Stadium, or by its temporary and rather unusual name during the tournament, New York, New Jersey Stadium, is preparing to deliver a moment that will be etched in history. And as the countdown begins, one question remains. Can it truly become the stage worthy of the biggest moment in the world? It's time to step inside the venue where the final chapter of the World Cup will be written. The place where, for one team, the greatest dream of all will become reality. Long before it was chosen to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup final, MetLife Stadium was built with a completely different vision in mind. Opened in 2010, the stadium was designed to solve a uniquely American challenge. Two NFL franchises, the New York Giants and the New York Jets, needed a modern home. Instead of building separate venues, the solution was ambitious. Create a single stadium that could serve both teams, maximize revenue, and host the biggest events in the country. That decision shaped everything. Designed by 360 Architecture, now part of HOK, with structural engineering led by Thornton Tomasetti, the stadium wasn't built around a single identity. It was created with flexibility in mind. It could transform from Giants blue to Jets green overnight. It could host football on Sunday, a concert on Wednesday, and an international event by the weekend. It was designed to do everything, and for American sports, that made perfect sense. But global football operates under a completely different philosophy. While MetLife can handle scale, it was never designed for the specific demands of elite international football. The field dimensions differ from FIFA standards. The standard surface, artificial turf, doesn't meet FIFA requirements, and the amount of space around the pitch, critical for player movement, safety, and broadcast, was never built to those standards either. So when FIFA began selecting venues for 2026, MetLife wasn't the obvious choice. Still, it was selected, largely because of its location. Just outside New York City, the stadium sits at the heart of global visibility. Hosting the final here isn't just about sport, it's about placing the game on the world's biggest stage. But that choice came with a shift in control because FIFA doesn't adapt to stadiums. Stadiums adapt to FIFA. This means that once chosen, the stadium is required to meet a completely different set of standards, and those requirements are uncompromising. During the tournament, even its identity changes. Under FIFA guidelines, the venue will be officially renamed New York, New Jersey Stadium, a temporary rebranding that reflects FIFA's full control over the event and its commercial environment. The direction comes from FIFA and the FIFA World Cup 2026 Organizing Committee, but the stadium's owners, the New York Giants and New York Jets, through the MetLife Stadium Company, are the ones responsible for carrying it out. A natural grass pitch must replace turf. The field must expand to meet international dimensions. Player facilities, media infrastructure, and operational zones must all be adapted to meet the expectations of the world's biggest tournament. The stadium will host a total of 8 matches, 5 group stage games, 1 round of 32 match, 1 round of 16 match, and the final on July 19, 2026. In other words, a stadium engineered for flexibility is now being pushed toward precision, and that creates a deeper tension. All of this had to be done within the narrow window of the NFL offseason, shared by 2 teams, leaving little margin for delays. So the question isn't just whether MetLife can host the World Cup final, it's whether it can truly transform into something it was never meant to be. And that transformation is already underway. The renovation is being carried out by Skanska, one of the largest construction and project development companies in the world. The transformation was carried out in 2 distinct phases. January to May 2024, followed by a second phase from January to May 2025. This phased approach allowed construction to align with the NFL offseason while keeping the stadium operational. In early 2024, crews moved into the stadium and began cutting into one of its most rigid elements, the lower bowl. This wasn't cosmetic. Crews cut into the four corners of the lower bowl, removing parts of the original precast seating structure. In total, 1,740 seats were taken out because the stadium needed more space. American football fields are narrow and contained. FIFA requires a wider pitch, more runoff area, more freedom for movement. An NFL field is just 160 feet wide, while FIFA standards require up to 223 feet. That extra width doesn't just change the field, it changes how close the game sits to the stands, forcing adjustments to sightlines and the relationship between players and spectators. And that means physically pushing the boundaries of the field outward into areas that were never meant to be part of play. But removing seats created a new problem. This stadium still has to function as an NFL venue after the tournament ends, so instead of permanently eliminating those sections, engineers replaced them with a steel and composite modular seating system, a flexible structure that allows seats to be repositioned or removed depending on the event. During the World Cup, those sections will be adjusted to accommodate FIFA's wider pitch. Once the tournament ends, they will be restored to the stadium's original NFL configuration. At this scale, it's a highly precise solution, executed under tight constraints and without disrupting the stadium's core structure. By mid-2025, that structural phase was largely complete. The bowl had been reshaped, the field footprint expanded. The stadium could now physically accommodate a FIFA-compliant pitch. With the structure complete, the project now shifts to its most complex phase, transforming the playing surface. At MetLife Stadium, the playing surface is synthetic turf, built for durability, not for elite football. FIFA requires natural grass and doesn't compromise on that. To prepare for that shift, organizers have been studying natural grass systems used in similar multi-purpose stadiums, where grass must perform on top of a non-natural base. The results have highlighted just how difficult it is to replicate the consistency and durability of a permanent football pitch, especially inside a stadium that wasn't designed for natural grass. Because of that, even small inconsistencies can affect ball movement, player footing, and overall match quality. So the temporary system can't just meet minimum standards, it has to perform at the same level as a permanent world-class surface. The plan is to install a temporary natural grass system, grown off-site, transported in sections, and assembled inside the stadium just weeks before kickoff. Underneath, a carefully engineered base will manage drainage and stability, compensating for the fact that this stadium was never designed to support living turf. Turning that temporary surface into one that performs at the highest level makes this one of the most complex parts of the entire transformation, because everything about that system is under pressure. The weather in New Jersey in July is unpredictable. Heat, humidity, sudden storms. The grass has to survive all of it. It has to remain level, consistent, and safe, not for one game, but for multiple matches leading up to the final. But the pitch isn't the only part of the stadium being pushed to its limits. MetLife has already hosted the Super Bowl, the Copa America Centenario Final, and even served as a test run during the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. But a World Cup final is something else entirely. Bigger, tighter, and far more demanding behind the scenes. So while the stadium has proven it can host global events, it still has to evolve to meet a completely different level of operational demand. To support that level of demand, a transformation is already underway, one that most fans will never see. The stadium is undergoing upgrades to its mechanical, electrical, audiovisual, and plumbing systems, ensuring it can support the full operational demands of a World Cup final. But the real transformation goes deeper. Inside the venue, the experience is being recalibrated as well. The stadium already holds more than 82,000 people, with over 200 luxury suites and extensive club seating. But for the World Cup, those spaces are reallocated. Hospitality areas are reshaped to accommodate global sponsors, international guests, and FIFA's own operational structure. Club areas are reconfigured to match FIFA's hospitality tiers, while additional premium zones are created through temporary overlays. dedicated lounges, sponsor spaces, and high-end guest areas built within and around the existing structure. Even back-of-house operations, from catering to service flow, are adjusted to handle a different level of demand, driven not by weekly games, but by a single global event. Even the way people move through the building is adjusted. Players, officials, and media require carefully managed access and separation. Locker rooms are adapted, mixed zones expanded, and circulation patterns adjusted to support a different kind of event, with different rhythms and expectations. Outside the stadium, transportation planning plays a critical role. Organizers are emphasizing the use of NJ Transit's Meadowlands rail service via Secaucus Junction as part of a broader shift toward public transportation for large-scale events. And above it all, the technology remains in place, but tuned differently. The stadium's 4 massive video boards, each stretching roughly 116 feet wide, continue to anchor the visual experience. The sound system, built for NFL crowds, is recalibrated for a global audience. Graphics, timing, presentation, everything aligns not with a league, but with an international tournament watched by billions. What makes all of this unusual is that none of it is permanent. Once the tournament ends, the grass will be removed and the stadium will return to its original configuration, ready for NFL games as if nothing happened. For a few weeks in 2026, this stadium will stop being what it was built to be and become something else entirely. And whether that transformation truly holds will ultimately be measured in what it delivers beyond the game. When the final whistle blows, the success of MetLife Stadium won't be judged by how it looks, but by how it performs. Because this entire project isn't a traditional investment. It's a targeted, event-driven transformation, funded not through a single headline budget, but through a mix of stadium-led upgrades and event-related operational requirements tied to FIFA and the host committee. Early estimates place the core stadium work at just over $14 million, but roughly $16 million is already spent across the initial phases of construction. Around $30 million in public funding has been allocated for broader World Cup-related upgrades, including infrastructure and regional improvements, while additional stadium and operational enhancements are expected to push the total investment into the tens of millions more. The project is funded through a combination of stadium-led capital spending, public investment tied to regional readiness, and event-driven operational costs coordinated with FIFA and the host committee. The return, however, operates on a much larger scale. Hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup final brings global sponsorship activation, premium hospitality revenue, and international media exposure, while the broader New York-New Jersey region is expected to generate billions in economic activity. Current estimates project over $2 billion in economic impact, more than 14,000 jobs, and over 1 million visitors expected across the region during the tournament. But those gains are temporary, which is why questions around this transformation remain. Some see it as a smart, efficient model, proof that existing stadiums can be adapted for global events without massive new construction, a system built on flexibility, not excess. Others point to the adjustments required and question whether a venue originally designed for a different sport can fully meet the expectations of a World Cup final. Looking ahead, this project may influence how future tournaments approach stadium selection, especially in countries with large modern venues already in place. It raises a broader question: can adaptability replace specialization at the highest level of the sport? But that answer isn't decided in planning meetings. It's decided on the field. Because once the match begins, none of the construction, planning, or engineering will be visible. The temporary seating, the modular systems, the layered grass installation, all of it disappears behind the spectacle. And if you're already counting down the days until the World Cup begins, you'll probably enjoy seeing what's happening on the other side of North America, where Canada is getting ready to showcase its premier stadium. Click on the thumbnail on your screen, and I'll see you there.